Have you ever felt like life is working against you, that every door you knock on remains shut, and no matter how hard you pray, the answer seems to be delayed? If you're feeling this way, don't be discouraged. These might actually be signs that God is preparing you for something greater. You see, before God blesses us, He prepares us. And preparation isn't always easy. Sometimes it comes in the form of trials, delays, and even losses. But remember, just like gold is refined in fire, we too must go through a process before we receive what God has planned for us. 1. God is teaching you patience. One of the clearest signs that God is preparing you for blessings is when He teaches you patience. It's in our nature to want things immediately. We live in a world of instant gratification, fast food, quick responses, and immediate results, but God operates differently. He is not bound by our timelines, and He sees the bigger picture. The Bible tells, "Let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." When we lack patience, we often make impulsive decisions that can lead to unnecessary struggles. But when God teaches us patience, He is actually shaping our character. Think about it. If every prayer were answered instantly, would we truly appreciate the blessings? Would we grow spiritually? Would we develop trust in God's timing? Patience is a form of faith. When you wait upon the Lord, you are telling Him, "I trust your plan more than my own." Sometimes delays are divine protection. What if the blessing you're asking for right now is not yet ready for you? Or perhaps you are not yet ready for it. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams of greatness, yet he was sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. It took years before he finally saw God's promise come to pass. But during those years, God was building his patience, wisdom, and leadership skills. If Joseph had received his blessing too soon, he wouldn't have been prepared to handle it. The same applies to you. If you're in a season of waiting instead of feeling frustrated, ask yourself, what is God teaching me? Maybe He is preparing your heart, removing pride, or strengthening your faith. So the next time you feel like things are taking too long, remember, delay is not denial. God's timing is perfect, and He is never late. 2. God is removing unnecessary things from your life. Have you ever lost a job, a relationship, or an opportunity and wondered why? It's painful when something or someone you relied on is suddenly taken away. But what if that loss was actually God's way of making space for something better? Bible tells, "Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, He takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, He prunes, that it may bear more fruit." Pruning is a painful process. Imagine a gardener trimming a plant, cutting away parts that seem healthy. To the untrained eye, it might look unnecessary. But the gardener knows that removing certain branches allows the plant to grow stronger and produce more fruit. In the same way, God removes distractions, toxic relationships, and unhelpful situations from our lives not to hurt us, but to prepare us for greater blessings. Think about it. If you are praying for a strong and godly marriage, but you are in a relationship that does not align with God's plan, wouldn't it make sense for Him to remove that relationship? Or if you are asking for a new career opportunity, but you are clinging to a job that is limiting your growth, wouldn't God close that door to guide you to something better? Many times we resist change because we fear the unknown. But what if the very thing you're holding on to is blocking the blessings God wants to give you? Instead of mourning what you lost, trust that God is making room for something greater. 3. God is strengthening you through challenges. Difficult seasons are not a sign of God's absence, they are a sign of His preparation. Every great leader in the Bible went through trials before stepping into their calling. Joseph was thrown into a pit before he became a ruler. David was tested in the wilderness before becoming king. Bible tells, we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. When life gets tough, it's easy to feel like God has abandoned us, but in reality, challenges are often the training ground for our future blessings. Just like an athlete must endure intense training to compete at a high level, we too must go through struggles to grow spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Imagine a child who never experiences difficulty. If everything is handed to them, they never learn resilience, responsibility, or strength. Similarly, if we never face struggles, we wouldn't develop the endurance and wisdom needed to handle God's greater blessings. Difficulties also have a way of drawing us closer to God. When life is easy, we tend to rely on our own strength. But when we face challenges, we are reminded of our dependence on Him. That's why many people experience the most spiritual growth during their hardest seasons. So if you're facing obstacles right now, don't see them as punishment, see them as preparation. God is strengthening you, shaping you, and making you ready for the incredible blessings He has planned for. God is testing your faith. Faith isn't about believing when everything is going well. It's about trusting God even when you can't see the way forward. The Bible tells, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Sometimes God will allow you to be in a situation where you have no choice but to trust Him completely. Why? Because He wants to strengthen your faith, so when the blessing comes, you know it was Him all along. Consider Abraham. God promised him a son, yet he and Sarah were childless for years. The wait must have been frustrating, but Abraham held on to his faith. And in the end, God fulfilled His promise at the perfect time. Now imagine if Abraham had given up. What if he had said, "This is taking too long. Maybe God has forgotten me." He would have missed the blessing that was coming. The same applies to you. When you feel like giving up, when you can't see the solution, when doubt starts creeping in, that's when your faith is truly being tested. And if you hold on, you will see God's promises fulfilled in ways greater than you imagined. So, if you're facing delays, challenges, or loss, don't lose hope. Instead, recognize these signs as God's way of preparing you for something greater. He is not punishing you, He is positioning you. God's timing is always perfect. He is never early, never late, but always on time. Your job is to trust Him, remain faithful, and prepare yourself for the blessing that's coming. Because when God finally opens the door, it will be bigger, better, and more beautiful than you ever imagined. Are you ready?